All right, hey guys, today we're going to go over my favorite supplement company, and more so, I want to tell you a story about its founder, Royal Lee, and this is going to tie back to the previous video that I did about how in the early 1900s, the world's financial elites hijacked medicine, and these same global elites at the time also went after the supplement industry, and this man named Royal Lee, who was one of the original vitamin pioneers who discovered and actually learned how to isolate vitamins from food, created whole food supplements that still exist today. It's my favorite company. And we're going to go over his story, and also I'll be sharing a series I'm doing about his products moving forward. So let me get this all pulled up here. Who was Royal Lee? He was a dentist, an inventor, and one of the earliest and most vocal advocates for whole food-based nutrition. In fact, in the early 1900s, even late 1800s, dentists were some of the first I will say nutritional pioneers, not just Royal Lee, but also people like Weston A. Price, who could identify that people were having a lot of issues with their teeth, cavities, their teeth eroding away, poor oral hygiene, based upon the processing of food that was occurring even that time. So we think of these things as being more modern, but look, this was happening over 100 years ago. It's just gotten a lot worse since then. So Royal Lee was often called the Thomas Edison of nutrition for his pioneering work on vitamins, food concentrations, and early nutritional science. So what did he believe? His belief was that vitamins should come from whole foods in their natural synergistic complexes. Isn't that a crazy idea? So he believed that whole food nutrition contained all the cofactors and that these things worked synergistically to provide your body with the best nutrients in a way that synthetic vitamins could not. He believed that by isolating, synthesizing, and artificially manufacturing vitamins, that stripped them of their effectiveness and could even be harmful. And he believed that the degradation of food quality, including soil depletion, we'll talk about that, food processing, synthetic additives, was contributing to a national health crisis, even in his day of the early 1900s. He also believed that prevention of disease through proper nutrition was preferable to treating symptoms with pharmaceuticals. And look, that's probably the crux of the matter. The big reason why they went after him is that he was one of the ones that was flying in the face of the synthetic vitamin, synthetic pharmaceutical, petroleum-based industry of medicine at the time, and saying, hey, look, we don't have to do these things. Actually, real health comes from whole food nutrition. And so that was, you'll see here that they went after him. He viewed synthetic vitamins as counterfeit nutrients that were mere fragments of the full vitamin complex found in nature. And he asserted that synthetic vitamins were to a natural complex as white sugar was to whole grain. So in the 1930s, he began experimenting with producing the first vitamins. He made concentrations of nutrients from foods like whole wheat germ and wheat germ oil, alfalfa, carrots, beetroots. These are some of the earliest efforts to create what we now call whole food supplements or vitamins. And he was particularly involved in vitamin C, and not just ascorbic acid, but the things like rutin and P factors and bioflavonoids, which he believed were essential for vascular health. He played a huge role in the cardiovascular and heart disease industry. He identified early vitamins that we now know today are the B vitamins. In fact, thiamine, B1, he viewed as the most important vitamin and was one of the first ones to create a supplement for it. And he wrote a lot. We're going to talk about this. He had a lot of publications that he would send out in these journals that literally the FDA and even the post office made him destroy. So we're going to scroll down here, and I want to go over some context of this. So, this is, why was Royal Lee a threat? It says, by the 1940s, Dr. Royal Lee had built a growing movement around the idea that whole food concentrates were essential for health. Again, isn't that a crazy idea? And that synthetic vitamins were harmful. He openly criticized the medical establishment, food processing industries, and pharmaceutical companies, which were increasingly supported by federal regulatory agencies. Remember, 1915, the Flexner Report came out. It silenced anybody that was going against the mainstream medical model narrative and only approved that form of thought. So Royal Lee going against that was a threat to that model. His beliefs were deeply subversive to the post-Flexner Report medical model, which promoted synthetic drugs as the gold standard of treatment. It dismissed nutritional therapy as quackery. We're going to do that in a later video here. And also viewed food-based supplements as unscientific. So the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, literally had a campaign against Royal Lee. It says the FDA viewed Royal Lee as a pseudoscientific agitator and a man whose ideas posed a threat to the pharmaceutical industry and state-controlled model of health. His promotion of food-based nutrition directly contradicted the FDA's growing focus on synthetic drugs and processed fortified foods. And in the 1940s, they literally began a surveillance campaign against him. So they would send undercover agents to Royal Lee seminars, collecting his materials, taking photographs of his slideshows and recording his talks. And they asserted that, hey, this guy is practicing medicine without a license. His vitamins, essentially, his whole food supplements, were being sold as unapproved new drugs. And look, isn't that still the truth today? That the only thing that can really claim to treat, prevent, cure a disease is pharmaceutical drugs. It's the same today as it was 100 years ago. And because Royal Lee was saying that his vitamins could support things like cardiovascular disease, heart health, and other chronic conditions, they went after him big time. They didn't just silence him, they literally made him destroy all of his work, all the publications he was sending out monthly, and he had to go through a massive court case where he had to change around all of his verbiage and really wasn't allowed to say the things that he was in his publications at that time, which I have them here, we'll cover them in a minute. They were not outlandish at all. He was just literally educating on how vitamins support chronic health issues. So even the post office went after him. They claimed he had mail fraud by distributing his supplements and his publications. So the FDA, the post office, everything went and they shut him down. Now, what was that company? You may know if you've heard of Royal Lee before. That company is called Standard Process. I know this is reversed on the screen here, but this was literally his first vitamin product called Catalin, which was his whole food, kind of like a multivitamin at the time that majorly supported not only heart disease, but a lot of other chronic health conditions. I take Catalin. In fact, I hold Standard Process in the highest regards because they use whole food-based nutrition still to this day. They have a massive farm up in Wisconsin that his family still owns, and the things that they put into his supplements, most of those are still largely grown on that farm. Also, similar to Dr. Weston A. Price, Royal Lee was one of the early pioneers talking about the benefits of organs and glandulars for our health as well. So modern day, we have, you might know him as Liver King today, talking about liver and the benefits of other organs. But really, he's just building upon the work of Royal Lee and other pioneers like Weston A. Price at the time, who said that if we eat healthy animals and glands from healthy animal tissues, that correspondingly supports the organs in our body. So those are in Catalin. I will have beneath this video a link to my Full Script. Full Script is a supplement website that connects with all the biggest companies in the world like Standard Process, where you can order their products directly. And in the old days, you could only get these through like chiropractors, homeopathies, naturopaths. Now, Standard Process has partnered with Full Script, where you can order these things online. I will have the link beneath here. We run sales a few times a year. And the great thing about Standard Process too is, although in my opinion they're the best supplement company in the world, they're also very affordable. Now, I'm going to be lastly doing a series on Royal Lee's work. When the FDA made him destroy all of his publications, and not just stop distributing, but literally go to the warehouses and destroy these, there was one printing press at the time that thankfully didn't listen. They preserved all of Royal Lee's work. And I have here certain licensed healthcare practitioners, chiropractors mostly, have access to all of Royal Lee's old writings. These are the things that the FDA made him destroy. Very important work about how vitamins and whole food nutrition is used to support a myriad of health conditions. So I'm going to be doing a series where I go over these trainings and bring Royal Lee's thoughts back to light again so that you can use these and understand his thought process for various health conditions. We'll do them by topic, and not just the health conditions. He would go over it condition by condition and which products worked and why they worked. And also, we'll be doing trainings on his formulas for his supplements on things like Catalin. So this is a picture of Dr. Royal Lee, all of his supplements in here, how they were isolated, why they work for various health conditions. I've put all these things into PDF, guys. I'll be doing a series on that on this YouTube channel, going through various conditions like diabetes, cardiovascular conditions, prostate issues, you name it. We'll go through these things condition by condition through these PDFs, and you'll be able to not just understand what his thought process was, but use his exact protocols to support whatever you may be dealing with. So I hope this is helpful. I highly respect Royal Lee. He's been long since dead, but I highly respect the man. I view his supplements as the best. If you go into my kitchen right now, 90% of what we have are standard process type products, and their sister company, MediHerb, will be covering all that in this series. So, hey, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the series. Have a great day.